A self-invested personal pension is the name given to the type of UK government-approved personal pension scheme, which allows individuals to make their own investment decisions from the full range of investments approved by Revenue and Customs. SIPPs are a type of personal pension plan. Another subset of this type of pension is the Stakeholder Pension Plan. SIPPs, in common with personal pension schemes, are tax wrappers, allowing tax rebates on contributions in exchange for limits on accessibility. The HMRC rules allow for a greater range of investments to be held than personal pension plans, notably equities and property. Rules for contributions, benefit withdrawal etc. are the same as for other personal pension schemes. Investment choice: investors may make choices about what assets are bought, leased or sold, and decide when those assets are acquired or disposed of, subject to the agreement of the SIPP trustees. All assets are permitted by HMRC, however some will be subject to tax charges. The assets that are not subject to a tax charge are stocks and shares listed on a recognized exchange, futures and options traded on recognized futures exchange, validated carbon credits, authorized UK unit trusts and open-ended investment companies and other UCITS funds, unauthorized unit trusts that do not invest in residential property, unlisted shares, investment trusts subject to FSA regulation, unitized insurance funds from EU insurers and IPAs, deposits and deposit interests, commercial property, ground rents, traded endowments policies, derivatives products such as a contract for difference, gold bullion, which is specifically allowed for in legislation, investments currently permitted by primary legislation but subsequently made subject to heavy tax penalties include any item of tangible movable property euro subject to further conditions on use of property, exotic assets like vintage cars, wine, stamps, and art, residential property, history. The rules and conditions for a broader range of investments were originally set out in Joint Office Memorandum 101 issued by the Inland Revenue in 1989. The Finance Act 2004 implemented wide-ranging changes to the UK pensions regime, most of which came into force on April 6, 2006. The legislation is commonly referred to as pension simplification. SIPPs appear to be gaining in popularity amongst UK investors, with Standard Life reporting a 38% increase during the first half of 2011. Structure: unlike conventional personal pensions where the provider as trustee has ownership and control of the assets, in a SIPP the member may have ownership of the assets as long as the scheme administrator is a co-trustee to exercise control. In practice, most SIPPs do not work this way and simply have the provider as SIPP trustee. The first mainstream provider of SIPPs adopting this approach was James Hay Partnership, who offered their own SIPP as well as performing the trustee administration for various insurance companies in the late 90s and early 2000. SIPP Deal launched the first online SIPP in October 2001. The role of the scheme administrator in this situation is to control what is happening and to ensure that the requirements for tax approval continue to be met. The pensions industry has gravitated towards four industry terms to describe generic SIPP types: deferred. This is effectively a personal pension plan in which most or all of the pension assets are generally held in insured pension funds. Self-investment or income withdrawal activity is deferred until an indeterminate date, and this gives rise to the name. In some newer schemes of this type, there are over 1,000 fund options, so they are not as restrictive as they once were. Hybrid. A scheme in which some of the assets must always be held in conventional insured pension funds, with the rest being able to be self-invested. This has been a common offering from mainstream personal pension providers, who require insured funds in order to derive their product charges. Pure or full. Schemes offer unrestricted access to many allowable investment asset classes. SIPP light or single investment. A recent trend towards schemes that feature much lower fees for investments that are typically placed in only one main asset. For these purposes, an investment platform or a stockbroker/discretionary fund manager account usually is classed as a single investment. An upgrade to full SIPP in the future may be allowed, depending on the scheme. Tax treatment: contributions to SIPPs are treated identically to contributions to other types of personal pension. Contributions are limited to £3,600 or 100% of earned income. The maximum was £255,000 for the 2010 November tax year, but the annual allowance for all pension contributions is currently £50,000 and will be decreased to £40,000 starting with the 2014/15 tax year. The SIPP provider claims a tax refund at the basic rate on behalf of the customer. The 20% is added to the pot sum to €6 weeks after your payment is made. Higher rate and additional rate taxpayers must claim any additional tax refund through their tax return if they have one, or by otherwise contacting HMRC. Employer contributions are usually allowable against corporation or income tax. Income from assets within the scheme is untaxed. Growth is free from capital gains tax. At any time after the SIPP holder reaches early retirement age, they may elect to take a pension from some or all of their fund. After taking up to 25% as tax-free pension commencement lump sum, the remaining money must either be moved into drawdown or used to purchase an annuity. Drawdown income is typically limited to that obtainable with an annuity according to the Government Actuaries Department. This is reviewed every 3 years until age 75 and annually thereafter. This limit does not apply to plan holders who can show that they have arrangements in place to provide a minimum guaranteed income from other sources and who are no longer contributing to a pension. Pension income is taxed as if earned income at the member's highest marginal rate. Rules exist to prevent the pension commencement lump sum being recycled back into the SIPP. If the fund value exceeds the lifetime allowance of £1.8 million at retirement, then the amount above £1.8 million will be taxed at 55%. From April 2012 the lifetime allowance fell to £1.5 million, but there are provisions for those previously relying on the higher limit. In the Chancellor's 2012 autumn statement, it was confirmed that the lifetime allowance will fall further, to £1.25 million from April 6, 2014. SIPPs can borrow up to 50% of the net value of the pension fund to invest in any assets. This can include commercial property or intellectual property, particularly when used for pension-led funding. Notes. External links: Self-invested personal pension. The Pensions Advisory Servicer, Self-invested personal pensions. Money Advice Servicer, SIPPs. Association of Member-Directed Pension Schemes A.